Life is hard. You know, it makes it harder when you don't want to participate. Let's talk about it. A virtuous wife work. Shout out to Honey. Links in the description for all the content on this channel. Let's watch it and then let's talk about just people don't want to do anything these days. They don't want to help.
In the Bible, did it say, and when you read what a virtuous woman is, it did not say nothing about she wasn't gonna work. That lady worked, okay? She worked. She worked around the house. She multiplied. She sold things.
What she's talking about is Proverbs 31. We have a saying in the church. I want a Proverbs 31 woman. This is a woman who is primarily good at what she does. Her command center is the home, but she's surprisingly able to familiarize herself with the way of this world to secure her household in a very promising position. But let's keep going.
She had a business.
I don't know about that, but she definitely had it. She definitely was a woman of trade. She definitely was able to navigate like resources in the world to acquire things for her household. Yeah,
she worked. So you're not going to ever get in a position to where you get a man that's financially stable, financially, he's able to do all these things financially, yada, 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 and you're not going to put in some type of work. You're going to work. It just all depends on what kind of work that you want to do. Nowhere in the Bible.
So, but pretty simple, right? Like, you're looking for something that is not what you should be looking for because you're never going to find it. Now, tragically, some people will find it, but the issue is, well, let's just say it makes it worse. Now, the first comment says, preach Jezebel. That's kind of crazy. Let's see. The second comment says, she actually did work. That's why the Bible calls her a helpmeet. That's Genesis right there. Now then, it says, some going to get a good woman if God blesses him with her. Let's see. Somebody says also, thank you, sister. Preach. Proverbs 30 woman definitely worked. Yep. Let's see. Girl, catch up. Black women are the most educated with businesses. Every woman I know and don't know bring in more money than a man in the house. We know men can't stand on their own without us. That's interesting. Well, that's a popular quote in the modern era, right? The idea that black women are more educated and more financially well off than black men. But setting aside that foolishness, I generally agree with the rest, right? The idea, like, men don't stand by themselves. Like, their wife are part of the process. It's it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a family to raise a house. Very simple, right? The last comment I'll read, it says, no lies, straight truth. And so there is this idea that people want to be persuaded, but they don't want to participate, which is why we love the book of James on this channel. It says in James chapter 2, verse 20, do you want to be shown, you foolish person, that faith apart from works is useless? You see, the idea, you can be persuaded about anything, but the idea that you don't want to reciprocate, meaning you don't want to turn toward that and apply yourself to that belief, makes your persuasion worthless. In modern era, we just say, listen, a dream that you don't pursue is a thought. That was a nice thought. I want to be president. That was a nice thought. I want to be an astronaut. That's a nice thought. And so how much more, and it's funny, like, people, well, again, I think I'm gonna start saying this more often. They will turn their, whatever field that they feel will get them the most money in their pocket into a lifelong career before they take their relationship with another human being, their lifelong partner, by the way, more serious than a job application, which is crazy. But either way, Matthew chapter 7 verse 26 says this, and this is Jesus talking about people who hear his message. He says, everyone who hears these words of mine and does not do them will be like a foolish man who built his house on sand. And the later verses implicate that, oh, it will not remain. This thing you've built, this idea, this persuasion, this beautiful mindset that likes these ideas, when it's time to apply them, it will not help you, because you don't want to mix them with doing the things that you are persuaded by. Now then, Paul at the 2 Thessalonians chapter 3 verse 10 actually takes it a bit further, yes, if you don't want to apply yourself, well, here's what he says. And even when we were with you, we would give you this command. So he's saying, hey, when we were with you, we present ourselves a certain way, and thus we taught you about and by this way. If anyone is not willing to work, let him not eat. In other words, you don't want to participate? What you doing trying to steal from the snack table? What's wrong with you? Can't be doing that. Now then, this is important because Peter says it best in 1 Peter chapter 3 verses 5 and 6. They hate this verse. They hate the book of Peter. They don't like it. That's why they try to minimize Peter. Now, it says this in verse 5. For this is how the holy women who hoped in God used to adorn themselves, by submitting to their own husbands. You see that? The idea of being agreeable with your people who say that they want to be led by these people, right? Like, your leader. You have to agree with him. You have to work with him. Work together. The idea of submission is synonymous with cooperate. Cooperate with this person. Don't be antagonistic. Don't be a ball of chain on his leg. No, work with that man. Help him. Verse 6. As Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord, and you are her children if you do good and do not fear anything that is frightening. Now, I like how he puts it. People will fear this idea. And so Peter was very, the apostles and the prophets were very aware of what the future may hold, that people will disagree with this, and for good reason, right? They'll disagree because they love their sin. That's the only good reason they need. Anyways, you'll disagree because you want another dynamic, even though this is the one that people generally say they want, right? They want the man to take care of the bills, treat them a certain way, and they obviously want to support that man. They love that person. It's like, well, stop making this just a fantasy and make it a lived lifestyle of looking for that person and wanting to be of assistance to him and his purpose. Now then, probably end here. Yep. Luke chapter 6 verse 46. Jesus makes it very clear with those wanting to pursue godliness, wanting to recognize him and work with him. He makes it clear with this statement, one of my favorite verses in the Bible. Why do you call me Lord, Lord, and not do what I tell you? It's very simple. It's something to meditate on. Why would you ever want to cooperate and claim that you cooperate with Jesus if you don't want to listen to him? You don't trust him. Like all this lip service, that ain't gonna help you. What you need to actually apply what he tells you to do. And naturally apply yourself to your family, apply yourself to your husband, and vice versa, right? It goes both ways, right? It takes two to tango. So let me know what you guys think. When it comes to this generation, how they portray relationships and dynamics, right? Versus how the Bible portrays this idea of cooperation and the willingness to participate. With that being said, like, comment, and subscribe, and see you guys in the next one. God bless and stay blessed.